for somebody who's looking at the young universe, at the early universe, and are talking about God and are agnostic, who do you think is God?
So I thought you had just like one of the best podcasts with Sam Harris this past summer. And one of the things I liked about that conversation is he talked a lot about happiness and meditation. And he said something that's really resonated with me, and I've been working it around and trying to work on it my own way. But he said, like, you can never be happy. You can only become happy. And I've tried to take it a little bit further than that, because I think it's interesting. Like, meditation is like, you're not like, oh, I'm happy, and now like, oh, my kid came in and now I'm not happy. Like, no, like, you can be satisfied. Kurt Vonnegut said, like, you ever catch this sometimes, Lex? You're like walking around, you're like, life is freaking amazing. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm happy. And Kurt Vonnegut said, you should say to yourself every time that happens, like a little mantra, like, if this isn't goodness, if this isn't happiness, nothing is. Mm-hmm. Just remind yourself how awesome it is every breath, everything that you do when you make an impact, even some of the bad stuff that happens. Good. It's good. So Sam said that, and it made me think, because I was like, well, what does it really mean to be happy? Because like I can think of about, 2 or 3 ways that right now I could double my happiness. Like win the lottery or whatever. Like I could double my happiness. There's only a few ways though, right? Like, I had this kind of thought, like, how many boats can you water ski behind? Like, you had twice as many followers. Now you got 2 million followers, 5 million, whatever. It doesn't do anything. It's called the hedonic treadmill. Like, once you get to a certain level, it takes a lot more, change and followers, money, impact, women, whatever you want to make you have one more quanta of happiness, right? On the other hand, this is a concept from entropy. I could make your life miserable in an infinite number of ways. In other words, there's more space to make your life unhappy than happy. And so I thought about that in the context of what Sam said about happiness. So it's sort of like, it's an expression of entropy. And that what you should be doing in life is doing that which will cause you devastation if it goes away. Because those are the things that like are where you're reducing entropy, like a kid. Like anyone who's a parent knows instantly what I'm talking about, like how to make your life 1 billion times worse. But there's no way to make your life 1 billion times better. And so thinking about that, now turning it to the question of God's existence, I feel like there's no way that you can believe in God, to misquote Sam, but there's ways that you can become a believer in God. In other words, you could increase the Bayesian confidence level that there is some, and let's not call it God because that's a freighted term. Let's just call it some infinite source of goodness or our beautiful power in the universe, right? Simple things can do that. You can increase your credulity in the goodness of life. And we have this bias as humans towards negativity bias, well-known fact. So what I want to do is let's call God good, right? That's where it comes from. God good, same words in German. And when we think about what is good, let's do those things that would devastate us. And a lot of that could be relationships. And there's a powerful concept from network theory, which is that, the number of connections in a network, I'm just saying it for you, it grows as the square of the elements in the matrix, in the number, right? So you think of a matrix with n people, person 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's 4 other people. There's 16 different pairs, but half of them overlap. The diagonal is where you know each other, yourself. But that still grows as n squared. So those connections increase and decrease, right? Like, you ever have 2 friends that are fighting and like you're kind of upset, even though you're not fighting with either one of them? So like a network grows like that. So you want to increase your network as much as possible, but only the kind of high quality interstices between them. And I think in doing so, you make yourself fragile, not anti-fragile. And I think that is where purpose and maybe approaching some notion of God can come from.
So that is a source of meaning, maximizing the goodness in life. And the way you know it's good is if it's taken away, it would devastate you.
That's one way. Think about it. Your brand, your business, your spouse, your kids. I mean, parents can't count them. I've known parents that have Jim Simons, here's a perfect example. He's one of my oldest friends and mentors. He is one of the richest people on earth. Gulfstream, mega yacht. This is all documented, books about him. He lost 2 sons as adults. And I hear people say, oh, I'm so jealous of Jim Simons. Would you take everything? I don't know where he has that strength, and his wife, Marilyn, and his first wife, Barbara. I'm not like that. Some people there are angels that walk among us. And, there's this famous prayer. It's like, God, there's an old saying that like one of the hardest tests there are in life is to be given a lot of money. And you see it like happens with like people that win the lottery or whatever, or NFL football players after their career's over, they're broke, right? And I always joke like, God, please test me with money. That'd be great. But in reality, you should never say I want what X person has, unless you're willing to take everything. And you'll find you won't want to take everything.
Yeah, I think a lot about the altering effects of fame, of money, of power on people.
Mm-hmm.
It blinds people, and I wonder about that for myself, because it seems like in themselves these are definitely not the goals. I'm pretty much afraid. I'm not desirous, and I'm definitely afraid of each of those things: money, fame, and power. But it seems the dreams I have as consequences can often have these things, and I'm really afraid of becoming something that would disappoint me when I was younger, that I wouldn't recognize, because change happens gradually.
But are you using yourself as the touchstone, to use the assay amount? Like, what is your rubric to apprise if you have lived up to that 12-year-old, whatever year old Lex? Like, how will you know or not know if you've let yourself down? Or like, I always think, live to impress yourself. Like, I don't care if I have followers. Like, it's nice or whatever, but it's hedonic and it's just never ending because you'll always see the next level. But I think it's pretty damn cool that like I've gotten to go to these places, the South Pole, and I've done these things, and I've made a family, and I'm able to teleport my values into the future through my children, and I've had ideological children so by what metric, have you not already A, impressed yourself, and B, could you let yourself down? I don't want to turn this into a therapy session.
I think some of it is psychology. For me, I'm very much just I'm highly self-critical. That I'm never happy with what I've done, but I'm always happy in the way that you describe, which is that the Vonnegut thing, where you just often during the day, I will feel, I don't know, I just remember just eating beef jerky and being truly happy. That was just last night, and I have that all the time. And that to me is why that feels to me like a healthy way to live life, and at least for me, it's the one I really enjoy. A lot of people tell me that maybe being so self-critical, so hard on yourself is not a good way to go, but more and more as I get older, I realize it's just who I am. You have to, at a certain point, accept this is how I'm always going to be, this self-critical.
Yeah. It's like the Oracle of Delphi, right? You know thyself. But I want to leave you with one last thing, which is to say, just on this topic, it could be different, right? We could go down to the ocean and get some krill instead of the 7-Eleven. It could be that we have no other taste buds. And Eric's talked to the 4 dimensions of, the vibration of your tongue, right? It could be like there's one, and it's just like, not Memphis barbecue or whatever you like in your Slim Jim. It could be something. It could be very boring. Similarly, what if like that's a clue? Like what if that's giving us evidence? Here's another clue. There are many animals. Most animals have single monocolor vision. They only see in black and white intensity. They only have rods and no cones. We could be like that, but we're not. Why is that not a clue? Like if God's not going to like hit you over the head and say like, here I am. Cause then everybody would believe in him. And there's very simplistic. I've had debates even with like famous atheists like Lawrence Krauss, who's like self-declared militant atheist. And I was like, well, I don't believe in the same God you don't believe in. Like some guy in a white beard in a chair, like that's infantile. Like I gave that away a long time ago. But what if there are clues? What if Yang Mills theory and Maxwell's equation, like those are beautiful. If you've ever seen like, expressed in tensor notation, Einstein's equations or Maxwell's equations, and then Maxwell's equations riding on Einstein's. It's unbelievably beautiful. Doesn't have to be that way. That we can comprehend it, that's a crack. Maybe that's where the light gets in, and the light is what reveals what's beautiful. So I don't believe in God. I think that's a stupid notion. Like, do I believe in God? Like, sometimes I joke, I wonder if God believes in me, like more than if I believe in, like, he needs Brian Keating. Like, it's like one of my friends is a rabbi. He's like, what would I be doing if I were God? Exactly what God's doing right now. Like, you think I know more than God? Give me a break.
Leaving clues of beauty for these hairless apes.
Yeah.